Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 91. And we've got the returning Joe Akroyd. Welcome to the pod, Joe. How's it hanging?
Because all our other guests got cancelled.
Yeah, well, that was a 5 p.m. call on it. Yeah, Dan Linfoot's cancelled again. Can you get up here? Yes, boys. No worries. I'm on my way.
Straight off the bat, I tell you what, though, I bet you it's actually, we're recording this one on Valentine's Day, so I bet your lass is like, I've shaved everything. It's ready for tonight. I mean, she's naked from the eyebrows down, ready. Here we go. And it's like 2 Geordie lads have just rang us up and said, I'm going.
To be honest with you, she's probably grateful for having me out of the house. To be honest, she watches some shite TV, can't she? You know?
Are you a romantic fella?
Nah.
No, straight off, cold as ice.
I
like
made her
it.
a cup of tea, poured her a glass of orange juice, took them up to her in bed this morning.
Spoiler.
And I made a bowl of porridge for her. So don't ever.
Is that a euphemism?
No. What, stirred of porridge?
Right. You're going to have to hydrate. This is getting heavy.
Pull that in the water a little bit.
Sorry, there we go. Yeah, no. So that's all she got off me this morning. And I'll remind her of that
porridge
every day until her birthday.
What do you make of the new studio update since you were last here? We've
Fucking
got
suave, innit?
nice extra camera, a few stands. We've got
some hellish lights there. They look like they come off one of our building sites somewhere.
They're funny enough, they were. So when you turn up on Monday, they're your stuff jug, and that's it.
Just been given a fridge full of rich energy. Have you had it before? Tried it?
I'm about to have it now, so I'll be chattering like a lawnmower all the way home. Probably, I would have thought.
Lad.
Yeah.
There you go. You see a bit of corporate sellouts there. There you go. Get it down you.
No,
it would look good across my leathers, you know.
Name dropping, I like it. So anyway, to be fair, the good thing is, which episode did we have Joe on? And it was mate. I'm not going to blow smoke up your arse, but it was absolutely mint.
It was number 79, because I can't hear the number 79 without hearing you going 79, 79. That's all I hear when I hear the number 79 now.
So it was good cracking.
Yeah, I think just come and talk bollocks.
I think we ran a competition on that one, so there was loads of people commenting on the YouTube, and the time in Australia there was people commenting from that, like who used to work with you and whatever. But obviously on that episode, so for people that if they missed that one, go back to 79 and we kind of went through your life story and
if anybody goes back, they've got 3 hours of their life they're going to lose. They'll never get back.
No, to be fair though, like I can't believe how, like when that footage came up on YouTube, I'm thinking, how on earth did that go on for 3 hours? It felt like 10 minutes. Like it was mint.
Talking bollocks, weren't we? That's how it is, you know. It's
and we're going to recreate that. Hopefully not within 3 hours, because we've all got work tomorrow. Well,
no,
all
nobody needs to sit through 3 hours.
And to be fair, I was about to say all of us, but Chrissy, how is school going? What's all about this?
Tell us about teaching during these times.
Yeah, well,
motorbike podcasts, and we're going straight into the intellectual route.
Yeah,
I thought I'll get the boring shit out of the way.
I think the government have put a lot of funding into for providing laptops for the kids that don't have laptops and like Wi-Fi and stuff. And to be honest, I think everyone's doing it differently. But for me, the kids that I teach, I see them at the same time for the same amount of time that I would usually in the classroom. But it's just like an online classroom, and they can all see me, they can all speak to us and whatever. And my screen turns into a whiteboard, and I just teach them basically what to do. And
can I draw back to you?
Depending on what we're doing, they can.
And let's face it, in school all we drew was knobs, so it's like
that's all I'm thinking. You were like a giant dick in the middle of that picture.
I could just see his professional mind turning, going, how do I talk about a penis on the show?
Can you kick him off if they start?
You can.
Have you had to do it?
Possibly.
Have you?
But no, it's working pretty well. To be honest, I think everyone's just doing the best with what they can at the moment.
Do your students listen to this sometimes?
I'm not too sure.
Hopefully not.
I don't know. Yeah,
so
not.
Penis-based drawings back at Mr. Rouse is a good thing.
He's right in the
Joe Akroyd told you to do it.
There you go.
No, I censor these podcasts. When I put them on YouTube, there's a box for like, are they suitable for children? And I always click no. So hopefully none of my students will. I don't know. But what have you been up to? Obviously, I know from the last podcast you were talking about working with Triumph and stuff, and self-employed work. Have you been keeping busy through lockdown?
I do every time there's the Triumph launches the new bikes, I'm fortunate enough that I get the opportunity to go out and do the press launches with them. So I had been doing some test and development riding with them, which has pretty much come to a bit of a stop for me as of the first lockdown. So what's that, March, April time last year.
That's not just you though. Was that the whole team?
Just everything's slowed down. So the guys who have been there a long time, they've been able to sort of keep ticking over, but you're last in, you're first out, aren't you? Which is fair enough, and I'm sure that will come back. But at the minute, that's just not an option. So I'm landscaping, first fix joinery. I've just done a load of work for my brother. He's doing a barn conversion, so I've done a re-roof for him there, and internal stud walls and stuff, and done a bathroom, and just I'll turn my hand to anything. I'm a thick bastard, but I'm good in my hands. So it's
good lad.
It's a bit of a redeeming thing there. But yeah, the Triumph thing was good. I got an opportunity to go out and do the Trident 660 launch in Tenerife, which was
I see, because there was loads of from like different outlets. There was loads of like YouTubers and journalists and stuff. But the launch looked mint. Good weather and the roads and stuff.
It was spot on, and it's a route that we'd all done. So my mate Gareth Bright, who I believe listens to these, he's in charge of all those events, and he just runs the events. Triumph look after them journos, but they have a good screw out of it. They get just really well looked after.
It's in their interest, isn't it?
It is. But
if you're going to do a job,
it makes
do it
all
right.
part of the experience, doesn't it? They're not turning up to a shit hotel, riding a shit bike. It's beautiful places that you stay, mega roads, all the team. Like, he's got such a good bunch of riders. There's me, there's Dan Linfoot, there's Batty, there's Gaz Johnson, Taylor McKenzie, Maria Costello does them. So he's got a good bunch of lads there, and everything just works. Everything just works, and they're a...
I seen because Taylor did like a behind the scenes video, which I really enjoyed watching, because you watch the launches and you see all the shots and stuff, and you kind of think, how have they got them angle and whatever, but sort of breaking it down, it was really interesting. And the bike itself, is it a 660 twin or
triple? Yeah. So everything they do is a triple, and it's a mega little bike, and I'm not just saying it. It's it's a grand little bike.
Quite cheap as well.
Yeah, it's affordable. It is an affordable bike, and I think its biggest rival's the MT-07, is it?
What about in price as well?
It's cheaper.
What is it, like $7,000?
Something like that, yeah. Which it's affordable, isn't it?
A new bike.
If you were thinking, I want something that I can pot to the shops on, or I want to be able to commute, but I still want to go get stuck in on a weekend with the boys, it sort of does everything. But
were you involved with making that bike? Sort of
I did a little bit of Brunting Thought with him, and then myself and Taylor, Billy and Pesky did a week at Alcaraz, and we just thrashed the tits off it for 5 days straight, because everything that they manufacture has to pass track endurance. So it doesn't matter whether it's the new, like they bought out that new Speed Triple, which is just an animal.
Is it the 765?
No, that's is it 1200?
Oh yes, I see the beefy one.
The new Speed Triples. I've ridden, I rode like the first prototype, and it was just mental. It was mega. They've done a lot of refinements over the last 12 months while I haven't been there, so it'll be a different bike to what I rode. But with the Trident, we took that and we rode it from the moment Alcaraz opened, which was about 8:30, we could go on track. We stopped for an hour at 12, and then we rode it till 5, and it never skipped a beat. It was. I tell you what,
it must be such a good thing for the whole sort of manufacturing process, supplying the engines for Moto 2, because obviously they have to be top quality standard.
And strong.
So to get that gig to run, the Grand Prix, and and then use all that technology and data and feedback to then put into the road bikes. It must be like an advantage for them.
Here's a daft question that we'll probably have no answer to, and we'll try and get the answer in the next episode. But was there any DNFs in Moto 2? With those Triumph engines?
As in the engines?
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Mechanicals?
I don't know, and I did ask the question, so the bloke who's in charge of like that project, a guy called Steve Sargent.
No, not one. Not one, mate. Not one.
Sarge, he's a friend of mine, and he's helped me out trying to get my 600. He's all about racing, so passionate, but he's so passionate about Triumph as well. And I'd said to him, and don't know that they have had any mechanical failures.
You don't see them blowing up very often at all.
No,
I think maybe having that extra CC in the door, because they're not really that heavily tuned.
No, well, I was going to say there's a lot more in them if they wanted to run them close to the edge.
Yeah.
But I think part of the agreement is, obviously it's better for everybody, isn't it? If the bikes are finishing race, it's no good saying, make them, give them another 12, 15 horsepower, but we're not bothered if we only have a 50% finish rate. Nobody wants that, do they? So,
no, I totally agree. Because what are they doing in BSB this year? British Supersport even? Are they introducing a 7... You tell me, is it a 765?
They're allowing the 765 in, and I think everything's going to be controlled ECU, isn't it?
So is that the same engine as in the Moto 2 bikes?
Very similar, but I don't want to sort of speak out of turn because I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it will be the Moto 2 engine that they're running. I think it will be a production 765 that they do little things to, but not to the same extent as what they're doing in Moto 2.
Oh, cool.
And then to sort of make it fair, I believe everything's governed by the ECUs.
Are you in the camera shot?
Hopefully not. It's no, honestly.
It's all about you, Chris.
No, to be fair, he is the money shot. You know what I mean? So it's like I've got the Suva accent compared to him, but he's the face of the show. So
is anything in the pipeline for Triumph? For you, have you got any sort of tests coming up or any?
No, we were supposed to launch the new Speed Triple. That was supposed to happen. It's been a real kick in the bollocks, to be honest with you. We were supposed to do a trip to Thailand in January. That didn't happen. And then we were supposed to do the Speed Triple launch, and I think there was 2 other launches that were supposed to happen, and as it is, everything had to get cancelled. So I think they will happen. They will have to happen, but when and how,
because things are getting better. We're not a political show, and we're not the Tin Hat Brigade on here, but that's it. This is the thing. We'll end up down the 3-hour route down here, but things are going in the right direction. More vaccines are happening, which is the more vaccines, the closer we're getting to coming out full-time lockdown. But I was speaking to dear Karen there, your dear mother. The schools are coming back on in March, aren't they?
So
is it March? I don't know. Wait, that's a prediction at the moment.
Yeah,
it'll be
hopefully before the season starts, everything will be opening back up. And
when are you boys starting back at?
Testing, BSB test has been postponed, and it's just UK. There's no Spanish testing or no official Spanish testing. We'll get on to a little bit of that later, but the BSB tests are April, and then the season starts in May. So it's like basically a month behind where it would.
First round's usually beginning of April.
Easter weekend,
Easter weekend,
and then so now, and they've changed the starting order as well. It usually starts at Brands at Donington. It's now at Oulton Park, which will be a bit different. It's straight in at the deep end there.
I was about to say, how do you think that'll go as first round track? It's never started at Oulton Park, and Oulton Park's a awesome track.
Brands Indy, get everybody sort of bedded back in 30 laps around there, and go kart tracking.
Last year it was Donington National, which is quite straightforward especially without the last 3 corners.
And then Silverstone before that. That's a similar like a Mickey Mouse beginning of it. Well, don't get me wrong, these tracks aren't Mickey Mouse, but when you compare them to the likes of Oulton Park, Oulton Park,
it's baptism of fire, isn't it? Get stuck in there, boys.
It is, because we were talking about I'm going to try and do some wild cards this year. With the counting team on the 600, and it's a bit like I was speaking to Chrissy. I'm like, which ones do you recommend? And it's he says you almost try not to do the first 2 because they're always rammed busy, aren't they? And you just think
it's difficult to qualify in the first 2 rounds.
It always starts like that, doesn't it? I know when I did stock 600 it was the same. Those first 2-3 rounds are just, and then people either run out of money, they smash the bikes to pieces, they start dropping out, or they get demoralised, and it's lads that are having a go at stepping up, and it's maybe too soon, so they go back to what they were doing and have another year at it. It's like you say,
it will be interesting, especially with us not having the TD. A lot of the roads lads did the first 2 meetings to go with that, but my God, Oulton Park, it's everyone's been off the bikes, no pit bikes, no extra training. You're going to talk about training later on, but it's going to be naughty. It's going to be naughty.
There hasn't been anything. The pit bike thing, people laugh at that, but it's bike time, isn't it? You're just keeping your eye and just keeping yourself.
I tell you, because that is a sort of topic about sort of training, and there's been a few crashes and the sort of pros and cons of all the different training we will get onto. But just beforehand, what's your plans for 2021 racing wise?
World Endurance.
You lucky son of a bitch.
Is it just purely World Endurance? Have you got other?
The plan will be still to do the Scarborough events because I do believe in supporting that. I think it's it's a mega thing that Scarborough was a big part of my life growing up. So I do want to support what they're doing. They've got their hands full there to try and just keep that going. So if I can do it and funds will allow it, then I will do. But obviously, I sort of said at the beginning of this year that I wanted to commit to a season of something. Yeah. Like with what we do with the roads, it's all a little bit disjointed, isn't it? You jump in and you say, "Oh, well, I'm going to do that," but you never commit to it.
But
championship as such, is
there's no championship, is there?
No, which is it's fine. That's the nature of the beast. But I just sort of thought, I kind of, because that's been taken away, I want to be able to commit to something. And I was supposed to ride for the guys that I'm riding for, which is the British Endurance team. I was supposed to do Estoril for them, which was 2 weeks after Scarborough, after I broke my back.
Oh God, how are you? Sorry, I know we were talking about World Endurance, but quickly, how are you feeling?
Not
you look
too bad.
Look a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
You've been out trying, testing.
Pretty good. Like on the bike, mega. Never even. I did 10 days out there, and I was in more discomfort off the bike than on the bike. Never knew. Never noticed it. But then on a night time, I'd be sat there thinking, fucking hell, this bar still's uncomfortable, or, the bed's not quite right. Just how it is, but on the bike, mega.
That's the main thing in this.
It's just like Aidan, he would have walked up to Aidan Robinson, Aidan would have gone, "What do you want?" He goes, "I want to race bikes." Yeah. Well, we've got a mode for that, you know what I mean? It's like, we haven't got enough time in the day to give you everything right now, but you want bikes, son?
Yeah,
click,
we'll get
bang,
on the bike.
That's it.
And that's what he's basically done, which is grand, that it's fine. I mean, the landscaping job's obviously a physical job anyway, isn't it? You're lugging bags of cement and timber and digging, and I'm still shite with a shovel, to be honest with you. It's not, I'm too tall to be using a shovel, but
everything's what a load of shite.
It's alright for you vertically challenged bastard. 6'2",
little dwarfy fella. But I tell you what, we'll go back to the World Endurance, and let us. Sorry, I'm trying to think. We'll have to remind each other that you've got like an announcement. You've been working on a project now.
What's that?
I'm lost.
Oh no, about you're supporting the right. Hold on.
Oh yeah,
fair, because we're all about teasing.
Panic then. Shit in the bed. What's this all about?
I'm normally the bell end on the show, so it's nice to be ahead of the game.
Well, I thought he might have had some on his notepad, but to be honest with you, he's just got pictures of dicks. So.
they're from his students, which is that's it. He actually compares them. So, but no. So, you want to announce that on this show, or it's made?
Look, we can touch on it. We can have a bit of a chat about it, because I don't think it's going to do any harm just to touch on it. But there's not a huge amount to sort of say at this stage. But it'd be good to just have a just let people put people in the picture of what's going on with it. Yeah,
we'll get back to that. But we were talking about the World Endurance and how you got into that. Yeah.
So I was supposed to do Estoril, and unfortunately breaking me back, they then got Levi Day, and I kind of.
Levi Day, that's the Ducati rider, isn't it?
Yeah, second in the Ducati Cup, handy lad, Australian kid, rides real well, and I think he did a real good job for him. And I sort of thought, that's my opportunity gone. I've been wanting to have a go at that for a little while.
Is that team with Boothie and Blackshaw?
Yes. Yeah. John Railton. Right. The team's owned by David Railton, and then they got Boothie in for Le Mans, and he made a mess of his wrist, and Johnny Blackshaw, and then that's when I got the opportunity for Estoril because Boothie was injured.
Have you seen Johnny's just launched his own brand of oil?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so they're like sponsoring. I think they've done a link with like MSS and a few other people. I'll have to speak to him to find more about it.
I was about to say, what's it called?
Yeah, what is it called?
Begins with S.
Is it Sintol?
That's
the one. Is that him? Is it? Oh, fair play.
I believe so. I hope I'm not speaking
100% cooking oil.
Yeah. I've probably just plugged the wrong brand.
Great lad. Great lad.
I did stock 600 with Johnny. He was a grand lad. So,
and Boothie's obviously just started with 44 Teeth quite recently, and he's doing a grand job there.
And he also
smashed his leg to pieces. Did you see that?
No. Well, I'd seen he was in a pot, but I didn't see what he'd done.
Oh God! It's because there was like I think Alistair put it on his Instagram or whatever. But I see like real graphic pictures of his leg, and oh God, it was horrendous. But looks like he's doing well anyway, and he's another smashing lad.
A lovely lad. There you go.
But yeah, spot on.
Because he does articles for Fastbike as well. Why did we ring him tonight, man? We should have got.
No, I think
Boothie was busy.
I think Boothie used to work for Fast Bikes.
He worked for Bruce Wilson and Fast Bikes,
and then he's
gone
40-40.
across the 440. But I don't know the reason or the politics or anything about it. I'd just seen on the Triumph launch that Boothie was coming over and he wasn't with...
It was with Alistair.
It was with
Right.
Tell you what, just a quick shout out for them on they're doing a Monday night lockdown show. If anyone that hasn't watched it, check it out on YouTube. It is absolutely hilarious.
Well, Fagan's just a funny bloke, full stop.
Well, do you know,
Boothie's the same.
They keep going to Boothie like remotely, so Boothie does like little bits here and there, but it's Alan, do you know Chris, or is it Baron von Grumble?
Right.
It's like stage name, but it's in the studio, and my God,
stage name.
That is, it's proper. It's good because it's just general crack about what's happening in bike racing, but it's really, really funny to have. I'm trying to think like funny sort of euphemisms and play on words for things, and it is. It's
Fagan's quick though, isn't he? He's quick with everything. So and Boothie's a funny lad as well. They're just quick banter, isn't it?
Quick banter.
Yeah.
But sorry, we're up to the team. So it's called Team Great Britain.
No, it's the British Endurance Team.
Right.
British Endurance Team.
I tell you what,
what do they do?
Do you know when you're in a bit?
I think.
Do you know when you're in a bar and you're talking to some girls and I race for the British Endurance?
And I'm a doctor.
It sounds a lot different to what it is.
With that accent, it doesn't work really, does it? You know what I mean? It's like me saying I'm a surgeon. You know, imagine me going, a woman going, I'm a surgeon, pet. And
then you show them your hands.
I did that myself.
I bet that one's going in the Twitter bio. Is it the British Endurance?
It'll have to be my Instagram. Like it'll be the main thing there. Team GB. Yeah.
So what's on the calendar for you then?
So we got Le Mans at the end of April at the minute. Which, whether that happens or not, because my understanding is that France are going back into lockdown again.
Are they?
So
too many orgies. They love their orgies in French.
I don't know, do they?
Oh God, I never been in France. No. Well, you're going to Le Mans, so
there's a few places that
look at him. He's like, I can't wait. Then it's 24 hours of shagging.
Do you know, New Zealand didn't have any cases there. Sydney and New Zealand's just went into like a 3-day lockdown, and Isle of Man doesn't have any restrictions.
No, they did have like a bit of a lock back in, didn't they?
Yeah,
they put them all back in again. I've just been speaking to a sponsor of mine in Melbourne, and they've gone back into it again.
Really?
Yeah, which is it's obviously frustrating for them, but I think they'd said something about they should be coming out by Wednesday, but it might be 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, well, you know what, we'd take a 2-week lockdown, wouldn't we? Over.
I tell you what, imagine if you could just from a few years ago, if you could just be in this moment right now and be talking about all these lockdowns and that. Nobody have ever heard of like
quarantining, vaccines, and wearing a mask.
Everyone's an expert on Pfizer. And
oh my God!
It's like,
the mask thing's become like that's so normal now, isn't it?
Yeah. Totally.
You don't go into a shop without one, do you? It's like you've not put your pants on.
This new normal.
Fucking hell! I don't
take your pants off for a mask. Don't worry, I've got my mask on.
I don't like the whole new normal thing. I just like trying to make that normal. It isn't normal to have a mask on, is it?
Chrissy, there's 3 dudes in a trailer parked on the drive. We are far from normal. That's what we're ever going to get. You know what I mean? This is
and you should have seen what was going on before the cameras.
Yeah, I think all these like beforehand, the before chats and all the editing stuff, I think them get released on our deaths. You know what I mean?
What bikes is the Team Great Britain?
Suzuki.
Right. And is it a case of, is it proper enduro where you all ride the same bike? It's not changing transponders.
So
they did super bike last year.
Right.
And I think it's just, they're not a huge team. They're not a huge team with the same resources that the factory boys have got. So to try and do the superbike class to the same level that them boys are doing at the front, it's such a hard thing to do, and it's 60 grand in a superbike, and that's I don't know what they spent on theirs, but that's realistically, if you're going to build a superbike,
there's Boovie about to put the back wheel in and then gets on the bike himself.
It's a hard thing. So they've made the decision to go back to super stock for this year,
right.
Which it doesn't bother me. Do you know what? I'm just really grateful for the opportunity. I've got a full season to do with them. At the minute, there's a question mark over whether or not we'll be able to do Suzuka, but just because of the cost, it's 13 grand shipping to get the bike out there. So really, we'd need to find somebody who could cover that cost, because it's just not, it's not something that's readily available to say, we'll chuck the kind of 15 grand out to get the bike over there. So at the minute, Suzuka is
on the edge. In terms of, so from from like a short circuit racing bike to a enduro, obviously you'll have your quick release wheels and things like that. Is there any other major different?
They've got those big tanks and quick release calipers, so you can switch your caliper out. They've got dry links, they call them.
Right.
So you're clever. Like, you ever seen them? Like,
lovely looking things. I've just set up a company doing brake lines.
Right.
Yeah, so I can make all hell brake lines now, and we've got the machine. We've got nearly all the stock.
Is that working with Hell?
No, so Hell are doing it. Hell have said that Hell have decided to sell machines that mean other people can manufacture their lines. But,
so in terms of like a plug, if people want, like, say, brake lines for their bike, can they get in touch with you? And you can...
Yeah. So my company's called 1680, the number 16 and the word 80. Right. My website should be ready in the next couple of days, to be honest with you. We're pretty much there.
And if you listen to this pod, free brake lines for life.
No, I am chucking a few free ones at people that have been in my position where you just think, fucking, that's another 80 or 100 quid for a set of lines,
Well, we're all about promoting small businesses here, so if there's anything we could do to promote
a set of brake lines and get rid of this shit. I don't think I'm ever going to get rich off it, and I'm not expecting it to be a full-time thing, but if it turns into something, then brilliant.
Mint, yeah.
If it's something that just ticks over and just earns me a few quid on the side, then that's what it'll be. But I've just always found that customer service is a big thing, and I'm not going to knock anybody, but I've just not always found the best customer service out there. So one thing for me was that if people can actually get in touch with me, I'll get a phone, I'll get a SIM card that is specifically for the business, and then if people ring me, when my TT bike got crashed in 2017, Steve Wheatman and Team Classic Suzuki helped me rebuild the bike, and we built it out of basically what they had left on the shelf. And it ended up with this real trick underslung swing arm that came out of Kianari's Halsell bike, and the proper OZ wheels in it, and just a proper trick looking thing. And I had to buy from Tyco one of their old rear calipers because a standard caliper wouldn't fit with it. And I'd got in touch with a certain company and said, look, I've got this much line, and then there's like a weird adapter, which I didn't know at the time was the quick release dry links. And so I sent them a picture. I said, can you make me the other bit that goes in there just to finish this line off? And it was just a really horrible experience. Nobody was interested. Nobody wanted to do anything. You just think,
I'm here, I've got money in my hands.
I'm wanting to pay. I'm not looking for a free lunch here. I just want
from Yorkshire, so they might have heard you.
Maybe
he's going to haggle. He's going to haggle us here.
I just wanted a solution to my problem.
Yeah.
And the just nobody wanted to help me. So, like, the big thing with this, I just thought, you know what? I've actually had a number of really unhelpful experiences in the past, so maybe I'll just do it myself. And if people want to get in touch and
mint,
like all the pit bike lads that are running around with these Buccis and the CRFs, and everyone wants their fancy coloured.
Oh mate, I was just about to say I want a dry link. There is no need for it whatsoever on the pit bike. But you know what?
The amount of people I want
to buy.
I want one that I can take off.
Just because you can, and I'm going to cut a few more trees down tomorrow. just so
I can buy a dry link setup.
It'll look mint factory. But
like I've got a lad to send me the brake setup for one of those O'Vales, and then now I've got a template. So if lads have got O'Vales and they want to make, they want a set of fucking lime green ones or bright pink ones, well, I can do it for them, So
you're the man. You're the man.
Yeah, we'll plug away. If you send us the link, I'll stick it in the YouTube description. So how many races in total for next year?
I think there's 5, and including Suzuka.
And are you doing a bit of testing beforehand?
Yes, we've got a test middle of March if it happens, beginning of March, and then we planned, because I haven't properly ridden a bike in anger since I put myself through the fence, so it's a while, isn't it? And you know what it's like, the muscles that you use every day aren't the muscles you use on the bike, are they? So
no, but you see the good thing, like we were discussing, no one's out pit biking, no one's out, it's giving you more time to recover, and in a way it's a horrible little blessing, but it's
saying that, and I think it's a good time to talk about it, is this whole thing about testing, and nobody's testing in this country, but in Spain there's a hell of a lot going on, loads of flat track and loads of pit bike and supermoto and the lot, and I think our mate Tom Ward, he's out there with who does he work for? Royal Enfield, he's working for Royal Enfield, but he's out there anyway, so he's with Bradley Ray, Kyle Ride,
loads of them. Kyle on Instagram, and I've seen the lads, he's living the dream out there, and every day it's flat track
motocrossing, doing
this bikes.
Almeria and Andalusia are open, so there's loads of people testing there. I seen Redden, Danny Webb, Rory Skinner, then loads of Jack Miller, loads of MotoGP riders are all testing their on-road bikes. So yeah, there's on the flat tracks, you know, loads of MotoGP lads again, all out there. Haslam's out there.
Is he?
So I'm going to retract my comment before that. No one's doing anything. It sounds like we're the only ones here not doing anything.
We're the three nauseous.
That's exactly that's it.
Everyone's in the sunshine.
But it's speaking of which, and I put a little thing on our Patreon page about like suggesting topics, and a few people mentioned about there's that, and we talk about it every year on this, but the sort of pros and cons of doing all this sort of motocross, enduro, pit bikes. Does it help you performance wise, or is it a bit of fun and whatever? And there's various opinions. I don't know if you've seen, but there was a bit of a Twitter spat between Jonathan Ray and Tommy Bridewell.
I don't know,
did you see that? A few people sort of threw the 50 pence in as well. Did you see this?
What was that based on then?
Did you see the story where, because Tommy's just got a Ducati, like basically the road version of his race bike?
Is that what Redden's doing as well?
Yes.
Yes, right, so continue, So.
And and then there was a story in like Motorcycle News saying basically because BSB bikes the BSB testing's been banned, it doesn't stop you getting a road bike and going and doing laps yourself. So that's what Bridewell's doing.
And is that what Skinner's doing as well?
Yes.
Is that right? I was wondering where I was about to ask you what the ruling is on testing stuff.
The thing on Twitter was someone was saying, I can't remember what it was, but basically Jonathan Ray quoted the tweet and said a complete waste of time and money, and then there was lots of like replies. So Jonathan was saying it was a total waste of time riding a road bike testing wise, but then like I said, loads of people were throwing the 50 pence in, and like you said, I forgot.
What's your 50 pence?
Jonathan's main rival, really, Scott Redden, he's out all the time,
smashing the laps, isn't he?
Yeah, do you have but
the proof will be in the pudding when they turn up at the first race meeting.
That's it. I mean, I like Johnny Ray. I think he's I don't know him personally, but I just think, he's always comes across as a real decent, humble, down to earth bloke. I don't know.
Joe.
But I don't. Complete cockwash. I like him, but I don't agree with that at all. And my personal opinion is, if you're spinning laps and your bike fit, for me personally, the 12 months that I did with Triumph every day on a track, I think I was riding the best that I ever have, and I'm so frustrated that the TT got cancelled because I just feel like I was ready to put myself into that position.
Yes. Here's a good question then. Money is absolutely no object. Say, just for instance, say you've just got lucky and you've just say won, very like a lot of money, and you're absolutely sorted. You do not have to think about money at all. Your goal is to be as competitive as possible next year. What would you do in terms of like flat track, enduro, motocross, pit bike, and have a bike and just be tested like a full road bike?
Yeah, I think I would be doing specific to the discipline that I'm wanting to do, but I don't. There's not a negative to being out on a flat track bike all the time, because in my opinion, everything teaches you a different, slightly. So the
negative
thing,
is obviously you're running the risk of hurting yourself and go back. So, like for example, Alex Lowe's has just missed the Kawasaki test because he crashed his flat track bike.
His brother did it the following. Was it the year before he did that?
I think he crashed a proper, but like
right. Bless him.
Like you think about, Rossi's on the ranch all the time on the flat track bike. That's got to be giving him confidence in washing the front and saying,
not just Rossi as well, though.
No, they're all doing it, all them boys.
Alex Rins, because of the lockdown, Alex Rins has been staying in a garage with a like an Ovarly, a J6R1000, and like a go-kart, and he just basically lives and does all that. Tito Rabat years ago,
I know,
it's hard life,
Tito never was he was relatively competitive, but he wasn't like the outstanding rider when it was 125s and 250s and whatever. When it got to Moto2, he was living at Almeria the same time that I was there, and he had his own. He had a big motorhome. Well, he actually started with like a real small motorhome inside.
Don't his family own something to do with it?
No, David Garcia owns it, and it was his manager.
Right.
I believe Tito's family have watch shops, like in Barcelona or whatever.
Right.
Like, so he comes from a wealthy background, but he was living there full time in this motorhome. Every single morning, he would get up and go out on his Moto2 bike, which was the same as his race bike, and at lunchtime. So he would do an hour in the morning and out at lunchtime. and he absolutely dominated Moto 2 that year, and then that's why they brought in all the rules to stop you doing that.
Yeah. Well, there's the proof, isn't it? I'm a bit...
Jonathan quoted it, Bike Sport News put, BSB ban sees rise in training bikes, but what is one? And it's got all the information.
Glorious.
And he said a glorious waste of time and money. And then loads of people were getting involved and saying, you know, for bike fitness, you can do like motocross and enduro and whatever, like pit bikes, flat track, whatever. I mean,
I agree.
You know what? If you can, why the fuck not?
Yeah,
that's the truth. For someone that, like you say, that money, I would stuff that I'm on. I want to go race bikes.
Do you think it's possibly mind games that he's put that because he knows Renton's always out doing it?
Well, I was just about to say, do you not think with the Twitter thing that sometimes people like to just chuck a bit of petrol on someone and walk away just for the crack?
The thing is,
there's more and more wet wipes on social media at the moment.
Yeah, you've got different, like totally different camps, because you'll have a certain segment of the population or the racing sort of fans that think you should do absolutely nothing dangerous, and basically anything's a waste of time. And those people, when there's a motocross crash and like say someone breaks a leg motocross, they'll be like, what they're doing, the idiots, they shouldn't be doing anything. You've got another people that think, you know, you maybe shouldn't do motocross because it's too dangerous, but it's worth the risk of
I don't agree with what we do, mate.
It's worth the risk of like trials and enduro. It's all about that sort of.
Well, go on then. What do you think as a frontman in the BSB? What do you think about the whole
frontman in the BSB?
The bike time thing.
Well, for me, a massive advantage for me last year was in between the race and getting out on my bike, and even if I wasn't putting new tyres in, I wasn't I didn't have a team, like a full team there or anything, and
you were just going, I was just getting laps,
filling it up with fuel and just doing laps. But to be fair, that was at the circuits that I was racing on, and that was a huge advantage.
Do you not think you'd have had the same advantage if you'd have gone to
different tracks,
Cartagena? You're still getting.
It's a difficult one. I have had a winter. I had one winter where I was. That was when I was at Spain, and I was working for focused events and pretty much lived there all through the winter. And I was out on the bike all the time, but not riding in anger. I was kind of like coaching and riding at about
slower.
Riding at about 70%, and I then went on to have the worst season racing I've ever had.
I think the instructing job.
Yeah, and I was out on the bike.
Instructing job is not a good thing.
I was out on the bike all winter, so I went into the next season thinking like every day I was out like sort of like elbow down sliding the bike. I was thinking, come on, like I'm going to hit the ground running. Total opposite. My teammate was faster than us at the first test, and I was like, shit.
I think Ben Wilson used to do it, and there might be some keyboard warrior that jumps on here and says, no, you're full of shit, but I think Ben Wilson did the Haslam School as an instructor, and he jacked it for exactly that reason.
Right.
Because you ride round at a certain pace with your customers or with the lads that you're teaching, and then they start getting a little bit quicker, don't they? And you think, oh, I better pull my finger out here. So you ride a little bit quicker, but you're still looking over your shoulder, or you're making a point of showing where the apex is, or over exaggerating your braking mark. You do all of that.
You're not in fight mode, are you,
mate? When you've got to pull the pin, the pin's rusted in. The job's knackered. I have found that.
I tell you one thing I'll say. Those people that just think you shouldn't do anything risky because of things, that obviously have a point of view, but if you look at all the elite riders in the world, and in every championship, all the elite riders are out doing something, whether it's motocross, flat track, enduro trials, pit bike and whatever. So they're not doing that purely just for a laugh.
No.
They are doing it for a reason, but it's surely about limiting that risk to get the most out of it. And another thing is, do you know, if you just like, for example, if you went motocrossing but you thought, right, I'm just not going to try at all do anything, it's kind of,
there's no point in doing it.
Yeah. So you
need to go get stuck in enough that you're starting to push yourself, but you're riding within the realms of not chucking yourself at the fence. But it's hard to do, isn't it? That's you're not a rider, you're a racer, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Plus, I think a lot of it depends where you are in your career. So, for example, Rory Skinner, that's just stepped up to a big bike, having a full winter out, doing laps on 1,000. That's surely going to help you when the first test comes around.
Yeah.
And then it gets onto that thing of, flat track, mini bikes. I know you do a lot of mini bike racing, and you felt that helped you.
Oh, well, because I've never had that opportunity to have that much track time.
That's the thing. It's track time, isn't it? It's track time.
I've never, ever been in that position ever to do that. I've just, I can only afford to go to the TT. I did Croft, parked up.
Yeah.
After Croft, riding around going, do not crash.
Yeah.
To knock the TT, and then you get it. and something had to change. So
Yeah.
I bought a pit bike for less than $2,000, and it was just like right mint. And it was just, and more importantly, I'm a bike lover. You know what I mean? I want to be out racing bikes. And pit bikes give that an affordable rate for me. You know, don't get me wrong. If I had an opportunity, I'd be doing. I would pick that any day of the week.
Won't we all?
You know, no, that's what I mean. Though it's like
do what
and smash tyres for
Kyle and them boys are doing out there in Spain at the minute. You know, you can't help but sit there when it's pissing with rain and blowing a gale, and you're thinking, fucking, I've got to go out.
There is that thing though that one of them spanners the leg or anything on like I won't.
I've got my levers ready, by the way. I'll be there. Like,
I won't name specific people, but there has been people that have had like really good opportunities in racing, and then they've like spanned themselves on like something real trivial, and then it's like ruined a full season. And
well,
you think
there's lads. I can think of one person. It pretty much ended his career, didn't it? You know,
exactly.
But that could happen. Lap on of practice, you know. What do you do?
It's a great debate to have, because there is a strong two sides, and it's to every personal rider. Like, for example, if I went out and I was doing something on a bike training and I damaged myself and it had a negative effect, I would be kicking myself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. But I believe that there's something in it to like, even just to keep your hands all hot, like hot.
Risk and
you don't
reward.
need that, but I do.
It keeps your palms your hands calluses.
Like risk and reward, isn't it? You've got to take the risk to get the reward.
Definitely.
And that's training, isn't it?
Speaking of sort of risks and rewards and whatever, and damaging yourself, Marquez is obviously, after that massive crash last year, he lost out the full 2020 season.
I think there's a lot more to that than we're being told.
Obviously,
massively.
I've had 3 operations on my shoulder, so I have like quite a good understanding of what goes on, and you know, injuries to do with shoulders. And the injury, the one thing, like the biggest risk when I've had shoulder operations, and the thing that they're most terrified of, is getting infections in the joint. So like when they go in, there's pros of fixing things up, but the big thing that the thing that the surgeons are like shitting themselves about is getting infections inside the joint, because that's like can be career ending. That's what Marquez has had. I was on his website earlier, just doing a bit of the old research, and he had another operation in the beginning of December, the 4th of December, and then he went in for a checkup, and it was infected inside the shoulder. It's really bad. Obviously,
and he's got the best in the world. You know, that's another thing. You know what I mean? You think he's got the best people.
They're not having some fella on the NHS who not knocking the NHS.
No, I don't know.
They're not having a bloke who's
you have to wait for,
having to trying to get through 6 or 7 different people.
Basically, they found it infected, and then that's when they did another operation. So it's definitely not going swimmingly. No. But you know, it's you know, like I say, they'll have the best people in the world,
but they aren't going to say Repsol are shitting themselves.
Yeah,
are they?
Another person, Camille had shoulder problems. I think they tried so many things. I'm sure they tried getting a dead person's shoulder ligaments, and doing a full transplant, and that I don't think that worked. And I think that's basically ended his career. Jesus. And he's now taken over a managerial role
for Honda, isn't it? World Superbikes,
Undertakers,
and World Superbikes. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see such a.
It's all about timing.
It's nice to see such a big character in the sport, and someone that can give so much back. When the riding's finished, going straight into something real positive and having something, you know, a drive. Yeah. And I guess that takes us nicely onto the conversation that Dom was sort of alluding to earlier about.
I thought I'd put my foot in it again. I was like, are you mentioning it this one and this time?
Speaking about, you know, after injuries, the sort of, because we touched upon it a lot on the first interview. Yeah. And obviously we were talking about support after crashes, and like the rehab process, and how there's not much. Go on, you can lead, because you.
It's. We touched on it, didn't we? And it's something that, you know, I guess it's a bit more serious than us sitting and taking a piss and laughing on. But you know, the side of life when racers do have crashes, and I don't think there's a rider who's either new to it or retiring from it that's not gonna, if they haven't already, they're going to experience it. They're going to experience that dark side of the racing, which is the, you know, laying in the hospital smashed to pieces, or, you know, 6 months after a crash, you're hooked on tramadol, not knowing what to do, thinking about making really bad decisions. You know, I think fans don't fans of motorsport don't forget that side's there. They know that side's there, but they don't maybe go on that journey because why would you? You know,
they don't need to, do they?
No, they don't need to. That's not their problem. They're there to enjoy the race and enjoy the spectacle. But the families that do have to go through it is a huge thing. From guys having a leg smashed to pieces to the worst case scenario, fatalities. I just think that within road racing we don't have anything in place that offers any support or any solutions for supporting families, riders. There's nothing there. There's the ACU Benevolent Fund.
I was about to say, because there are, like, in individual clubs and stuff like that, there are people there that will help you, but you're talking about, like, really far down the line. Like,
yeah, I'm talking about on a bigger scale.
Yes.
I mean, going to a club race or going to a race meeting and someone dropping your message to say, are you all right? That's all well and good. I'm talking about on a larger scale of knowing who to turn to. When guys are smashed to pieces with let's stick with the old leg job. So there's a guy who, and I'm not going to say a name, but he's currently being treated by the same guy who's treating me, and he's going through just a real shitty time with it. And because he's a bike racer, he just wants to get back on the bike, but in the same breath he's having to go through the same old process that is the NHS, which is massively overworked, and they haven't got the resources, have they? They can only do what they're doing, and currently obviously they're doing a cracking job with a huge problem ahead of them. This guy's in a real issue with an ankle injury, and everything is just taking forever now. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was something in place that's there for us as motorbike racers that can say to that guy, right, you can't go to work, you haven't been able to work, you're 12 months into this injury now, you've got an ankle that still has an exposed wound that isn't healing, so there's obviously something wrong there, you can't get an MRI scan for 9 weeks. Let's see what we can do to try and move this job along. If it's that we've got something in place to fund that private care, talking with someone yesterday, they were saying you can generally say that a private operation will be somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000.
Yeah.
So if we can do something that has a fund available to be able to say to that person, right, go and see this guy, he's the ankle specialist. That's the private care to go and get you sorted, because this isn't just affecting your leg. There's a bigger picture in there. There's your mental state. There's the fact that your missus is having to deal with all of this. You're struggling to pay your mortgage. There's such a huge issue there, and I do think the mental health side of stuff, I'm not a snowflake, and I'm not into people that say, I'm stressed at work, I'm not one of them.
Yeah, mental health is a serious thing.
It's fucking big deal. It's a big thing that we blokes, we're terrible because we all say no, we're fine, because our mates tell us to man the fuck up and get on with it. Which sometimes...
Have you worked in forestry?
I have. Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
And sometimes there is a time and a place for that. There is a time and a place for saying, get your shit together, come on, But there's also a time and a place when somebody's in that position where something needs to be handled differently.
Yes.
And I'm more than happy to say, I've had my battles with the job, where I've been laid in bed and spent weeks and weeks and weeks in bed just feeling completely worthless. And the only way I described it was like being at the bottom of a well with that tiny bit of light and you've got no way of getting out.
We've had quite a few people message the page recently who are actually in that position now, and it's with the lockdowns and with, say, injured and they're struggling to... What sort of advice would you give to someone in that position right now?
So, personally, you've got to reach out. You've got to swallow your pride. You've got to be prepared to speak to somebody. If it's not somebody that within you... And again, I'm not a qualified psychologist, so my advice has just come in as a thick Yorkshireman. I don't know. For me, the worst thing you can do is sit on it. But in the same breath, it's so hard when you're in that mindset to want to speak to somebody. I think I said last time, I remember a situation, and again, I can only speak from my own personal experience, but I'd been in Australia a year and I was back here, and my mum and stepdad had gone away, so me and my girlfriend, we didn't have a home, so we were living at their house, basically house sitting for a fortnight while they were away. And I haven't seen my mates in 12 months plus the 2 weeks I was in hospital. And they're all messaging me, I'll come and you drop in and see you, we're at work, but they're all self-employed lads. They can all drop in for a cup of tea. I just ignoring them. I didn't want them to come and see me.
Aye.
Not for any other reason than that was my state of mind. Was when you're depressed, you don't want anybody around you. You don't want to talk to people. Someone could have said, "Oh, look, there's a brand new bike there." I'm not interested. I just want to be in a dark room on my own with nobody around me. And it's so unhealthy. But the best thing I could have done is say to everybody, just keep coming round. Just keep dropping in for a cup of tea. Just keep me out of that bedroom in the dark on my own.
There's sort of a real... It might not be anything, it might not go to anything, but as a sort of a biking community, there'll be lots of people that sort of need jobs done. So, for example, for this podcast, there's like loads of jobs behind the scenes that need doing, and I'd, we're, subbing things out and whatever. But wouldn't it be... There's a possibility that there could be something set up that put together people that need little jobs doing, whether you could be sat in like computer work or various things, and people who are out of action from crashes, and just to have like a purpose and something to do. You could offer the work to that. You could put it into some sort of group.
Absolutely.
And then there could be someone that like oversees that, so they get jobs in for anyone that's out of action or just like meaningless tasks or something. Well, for example, if we had a
smashed up and you couldn't work, but I know that you're good with numbers, and I said to you, tell you what, Chrissy, I'm going to send you over the shitstorm that's my accounts. Yeah. Can you just get them in order, mate? That's all. For example, we could have a topic that we know is coming up, and I could put in, and they could do some research and send it back. And brilliant.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Putting people together, and obviously we would be happy to pay a bit for that, and people would have jobs that they would pay for, and it would give people a purpose. Maybe that's something that you can take the lead on.
Yeah, definitely. So my goal and my plan is that I want to get together initially, because I do have a full-time job. And I'm sort of doing this little venture just because it's something that I do believe, we've got to stop being selfish bastards. And we've also, as bike racers, we've got to stop thinking everybody's the enemy. Don't get me wrong, when you're on the grid, everybody wants to be first man into turn one, but and that's the thing, we're all chasing the dream.
Do you know what, I think Joe's just hoping to get some cheap labour for his brake line business.
Anybody in a wheelchair or struggling, I can come here and I can sit you down in front of the machine. No, I think it's just something that I do feel strongly about, because my personal experience with it is that there is nothing there. There's nothing there. So initially, there's myself and Aidan.
Yes,
ITRM, and
you've got some other big names involved behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say their names.
You're not going to name drop them at the moment.
No, because I don't want to put them in a position where they then feel tied to. But I've had a few conversations with certain people who would be so pivotal to this.
I totally agree,
because they give it credibility, and that's what you need. It's all well and good Joe Akroyd saying we need to get some sort of charity or support network set up for racers. Who the fuck's Joe Akroyd? Nobody gives a shit. But when so-and-so says, I back this,
obviously there is private healthcare options for like insurance and stuff, but I mean personally I don't have private healthcare insurance, and I don't know that many racers that do. I know people who have things for if they injure themselves they get.
I've got Combined Insurance of America, so they pay you out per injury and they'll pay you hospitalisation, but
not private.
It's not all just about the money and the operations. It's about this to me, there is 50% of this is that psychological thing.
So you touched on it on the previous episode that you were in, and it's the fact of being able to pick up the phone and speak to someone who's been that. Like, that's how you and John became very close, and and I think that's important. But you see, to tie it off like neatly in a little bow at the moment, it's a bit you are at the moment setting up a charity network. This is the plan, you know what I mean? It's a bit like you, Joe, with your team, with you and Aidan, you're going to set up a product and go, that's what it is.
At this stage, the plan is that myself and Aidan are going to try and get in place.
By the way, I've heard the title. Aidan told me.
Do you like that?
Oh, I do. It's sexy. That is sexy. No. That's for next time he comes on.
For people who are in that
it's
pickle,
arousing.
If people are in that pickle now, who do they sort of message?
Do you know what? I've put myself forward to say, if people want, if they are sat there and their head's gone, I'm happy to talk to people.
But you have to buy brake lines.
But you have to, you have to.
No, I'm joking.
I'm happy to try and do what I can. Like I say, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not.
But you know people who have been there.
But yeah, and if somebody's to ring me and they say, you know, this is what I'm going through at the minute, and I know somebody who's gone through that, and I can speak to them and say, look, are you, and this is that thing initially, it's just a case of if we can just build that support network so people know that there is somebody there. And if someone rings me and says, look, Joe, you know, I've smashed me back up, and well, I can talk to you about that because I know. But if someone rings me and says, look, I've done my leg, well, then I'm not going to say a name, but let me see if this person will talk to you. You know, I'm not saying they're going to be your best mate and want to have beers with you, but it'll be somebody who can relate to it, which just helps you realise that
who's been through that journey and
exactly
it's going to be all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or not.
And I just think the financial side is one thing, but
that'll take a long time, but it will get there.
The way it was put to me yesterday by said individual was, he said, how did you and John become mates? And I said, because we were both laid up, smashed to pieces, struggling with the addiction, with the painkillers, and not knowing how to deal with it, and just in a real dark place. And I believe Hutchie was going through the same thing, but I wasn't in communication with Hutchie. It was just me and John. And the way that this person put it to me about the money is, John sat in a house that's worth X amount with a lot less financial worries than I've got.
Yeah.
But the problem's still the same. You could be sat in a house worth 5 million quid and you can have 5 million quid in the bank, and the other guy can be sat in a static caravan in a farmyard like I was. The problem's still the same. Your psychological issue is still the same. So we weren't fixing the problem because we were just talking about the problem, but it was fixing itself to a certain extent. So maybe I'm babbling here. But
No.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a good babble. It's a good babble. But like what I personally worry about when I smash myself up, I always go back to money.
Yeah,
this is the truth.
It's a huge
it's me
issue.
Put me heart on the sleeve there. But I do worry about money.
Yeah,
and I'm in the wrong sport to worry about money.
But who doesn't? Because
that's exactly it.
The bank ain't going to say to you, "Oh, Dom, fucking hell,
you got your mortgage.
Sorry, sunflower race didn't work out for you, pal. Just you sort it when you can." Asda aren't going to say, "Oh, just do us a credit, do an IOU and you give us it next time you're in, mate." They're not, are they? They're not going to do it.
That's it.
So that's again is the other side of it. Is if we can put something in place, and it's an idea has been talked about that if we can get this set up and established enough, is it something that we can get the fans involved with? Because motorcycle fans are such a loyal bunch of people.
Yeah, totally agree.
Can we set up it's £3 a month, get on board with it, and it doesn't just help out,
even like a pit. We have
Josh Brooks. It's for everybody.
We'll have to keep discuss this maybe off air and get something set up, because obviously we've got a good platform here to sort of raise awareness, and if we can do something off the back of it in a positive sort of way, then I'm sure we'll be able to work something out.
And look, just tying up, if there are the other thing is that if there's people listening to this who are in that profession of whether it's sports psychology or
if you feel like you can make an impact,
psychology, and they feel like they can bring something to the table, what we want to do is build that network and that database where if somebody rings us, I can't always recommend who they need to go and see, but if there's somebody local to them that we're aware of and we can say, right, you live in Plymouth, the nearest person to you who
understands motorcycle racing,
who isn't going to judge you, who isn't going to make you feel like when you walk in there, oh fucking hell, he's
another motorbike racer.
Because all you're going to do is go, I don't want to be here, and you're going to leave, and you're going to try and find somebody else who's probably going to have the same opinion. So then you don't bother getting the treatment, do you?
Exactly.
So then you suffer for the rest of your life. So we want to try and build that network and that database where people have somebody to talk to. And look, maybe it won't work. Maybe I'm going to struggle like hell with this. Maybe enough people will come forward and things will just start rolling and happening.
I think we'll have a, like, you'll be the back specialist, so and so will be the leg, I can be the shoulder specialist.
Yeah, it's just having people to talk.
Keep persevering with your left hand, it will eventually.
Click, buy, deliver with remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
Well, time's marching on. We've got a few things to wrap up, but I made a big list of things that I wanted to talk about on this podcast. One big thing that's been in the news, well, there's been a few things, but one big thing recently is the ACU emailed all of the licence holders the other day, talking about carnets, and obviously with the whole Brexit thing and the UK leaving the EU, there's new legislation for taking well, it's anything but like vehicles and goods basically abroad. So it's carnets basically like a passport for goods.
That's it, yeah.
And years and years ago, I think people who are old enough can remember doing them years ago, but obviously we haven't done them for a long time, and for our generation it's all sort of new. Done a little bit of digging, I think you have.
I've done my research.
What were you going to say, Dom?
I know, it's just about I was going quickly back on the COVID thing. Are they doing, like I say, we're not a political show, but are they doing the COVID passport thing? So do you have to have a vaccine to travel? Is that
no, I don't
not
think
yet?
So.
Is that not in place at the moment?
Not that I know of.
Which is good. No,
Yeah,
it's one less thing to do at the moment.
Aggro, isn't it?
And that's it. That's exactly it. So yeah. So is there what's that word? Carnet.
Carnet. Yeah, I did that first on that long way around that Ewan McGregor and Charlie Barman did, because you basically have to say exactly what you're going to take.
No, they're talking about
another country.
Exactly, isn't it? So if you had a toolbox, is it in theory?
No,
it's not that bad.
So I'd spoke to
by the way, toolbox, we were talking about writing every individual, so if you had an 8 mil, a 10 mil, no, because that's what everyone's like, I
don't think you have to do that. So
that's good.
I've spoke to Gareth, my mate from Triumph,
yes,
and I'd said to him, what do you have to do to take those bikes out of the country? So before, it wasn't an issue to go into Europe, but when we did Morocco, when we did Tenerife, you have to do a carnet there. And it's basically this wagon has on board, and you have to specify everything has to be detailed in there, and it has to be the same going in as it does coming out. So
it's basically to stop. So for example,
so consumables, you're all right.
So like a bottle of bleach,
and like with a toolbox, you could put, toolbox, this is the weight of it, and it's got various tools inside, so you don't have to specify.
You do have to give values.
Yeah. So it's weights and values, isn't it?
It's basically to stop you going into so for example, if you took a load of bikes over to Spain and then sold them, it's to do with the import and the duty tax and all that type of stuff. So it's to stop that. So it's basically whatever you take out of the country, you've basically got to write it all down, specify it, so when you come back in, the customs have the right to check it to make sure that you're not trading when you shouldn't be. Same again. But to be fair, when we got that email and on social media, there was a massive storm.
Get that email, or if I did, I didn't really.
Have you got your ACU license this year?
Yet. Have you applied for it?
I don't think I've even applied for it.
Yeah, that's probably.
Have you? I love that. World Endurance Rider, Joe Akroyd. Yeah, I've got.
I'll get around. I'll get around. My missus will have to do it for me.
But anyway,
you've ruined Valentine's Day, mate. You're getting nothing. Son.
She got porridge, a cup of tea, and a glass of orange.
That's blatantly a euphemism. I know you're a dirty.
Put syrup on it as well.
I bet you did.
The email that we've been sent was saying. We're basically saying that to take anything abroad, it's going to be a special offer from the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce for £240 plus VAT. Plus, you have to either give a deposit of 40% of the value or insure against that deposit.
That's it, yeah.
So,
and that's only with competition bikes. So if you were taking an insured road bike, you wouldn't have to do it.
Yeah, because I spoke to Croy about that, because he's going out on the 20th, which will be, by the time this podcast goes out, he'll have already done it. And I think he was talking about doing something with a green card to make sure that you've insured.
Yeah, so your green card, from what Gareth says, and I might get this wrong, the green card is, you have to have a green card if the vehicle isn't road registered, if it isn't a road bike. So if you're taking a track bike, then you have to get a green card that shows that you've got that insurance on it.
Right.
If you don't get the insurance, you have to pay a refundable deposit, which is 40% of the value of the bike. So if you've got a 20 grand Panigale, you have to put down 40%, and then that you can have that back when you come back into the country and you've done it.
But you can insure against that.
Or
40%.
You insure it, yeah.
And which it's basically gonna. So you're not going to be taking a massive deposit and things. So I spoke to a few people about it. By the way, just to touch on a few things, the ACU are talking about doing this special offer with Greater Birmingham. There is actually Chamber of Commerce. What's that?
My ear, man. Sorry, there you go. Dom opens wallet. Dead. They are. Hang on. I'm trying to replicate the noise now. I've literally just scrubbed my ear with the headphones on. I'm glad this is entertaining for you. Carry on being grown-ups. There it is.
So basically, the Chamber of Commerce are all over the country. They have them in all different cities, and they basically look after the sort of business, help business in that area. Now, the ACU, I presume, must be based near Birmingham, and that's why they've sort of done this special offer. But as things develop, I'm sure that it's unlikely that that's going to be the cheapest option in the whole country. I don't know, it might be, but anyway. So that's one Chamber of Commerce. That's how much it's going to cost. Another thing, I spoke to Kev from Focused Events, because I think loads of people are thinking to go and do a Spanish trip, you're going to be paying like 290 quid plus the insurance for 40% of your goods. They're thinking it's going to be like doubling the price of the trip type of thing. And there's been loads of, on social media, and it seems to be a bit sort of scaremongery-ish.
But if you pay that 240 plus VAT, you don't have to pay the 40%.
No, you do.
You do.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
That is,
I thought it was one or the other.
No.
Joe's not going anymore.
It's 240 plus VAT plus the deposit of 40%, or insure against it. So it's 240 plus VAT, and then that's the add-on, the option.
You either then put your 40% in, or you take out the insurance cover.
Yeah. So I spoke to Kev about it, and obviously his business is all based in Almeria and transporting bikes and doing all the things. So he's probably like the best person to speak to be on the money. And basically what it's going to mean is, for the lorry of bikes to go out to Spain, they're going to have to pay the 240 plus VAT or whatever, the carnet amount, and then insure against 40% of the value of the
wagon. And what's the insurance?
The way he worked it out, so he said, for example, if there was £400,000 worth of bikes and kit inside that lorry, 40% of that to insure against. So say if it was 400 grand, so what does
Come on, you're the maths teacher.
So 400 grand. Whiteboard. 40% is going to be 160,000. To insure against 160,000 for that trip is going to cost, like, I think he said something like 1,250 quid. And so dividing by the consumers,
1,250 quid. That's all it'd be between all the bikes.
Between all of them. So for each person, it's going to be about an extra £35, and that's based on the value of your stuff being 10 grand. If it's loads more than 10 grand, you're going to pay a little bit more, but it's going to be around the sort of 35 quid mark for extra for this paperwork. So it's when you first get that email from the ACU,
it sounds big numbers.
Yeah, it sounds loads, where in reality it's not going to be a big deal at all. And
which is good news. Which is good news.
Still 350 quid though, isn't it?
What's that?
It's still another 350 quid on your trip to Spain, isn't it?
£35.
Plus your insurance, plus your plus your green card.
No, you don't need it. It's £35. That's it. So they pay the carnet, the carnet for the whole thing, so you're only paying for your insurance to insure against 40% of the value of your equipment. So it's basically, it's like 30 odd quid basically on top of your trip. So all this sort of scaremongering about, it's going to be
still happy. Here's Yorkshire, remember? 30 quid. 30 quid. Jesus,
however, if you go yourself, so for example, if a race team wants to go down,
like Crowe going down there,
you're basically going to be paying, so like for a race truck you're going to be paying 290 quid, 240 plus VAT, so about 290, plus you're going to insure against 40% of the value of the goods. So
and did he give you a figure for a rough idea of like one of a person doing that to pay for their insurance? Did he say what the insurance
it's going to be, for all together it's got to be about 400 quid, 500 quid.
So that's what I'm saying. If you want to go out there, it's
by yourself. If you don't want to go by yourself, if you want to go by yourself, it's another 400 quid.
I'll speak to Croy when he gets back, because I'm sure there's going to be ways around it, and I'm sure we'll find the
because it nearly makes your Spain trip nearly doubled, doesn't it? If you're going to do it yourself,
if you were going to jump in a van, travel down with a bike and everything like that,
which, to be fair, at the minute is your only option.
Yeah.
If you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wanting to do it, because there's no track day companies taking your bikes out there, there's nobody running those trips at the minute. So if anybody's wanting to do it in the way that those lads are doing it,
but you're gonna have to put the cheddar up, aren't you?
Yeah.
So a bit more paperwork, and like I say, if you're doing it yourself, it's going to cost. But to be fair, if there's a few of you going, you can divide it up.
Yeah.
It's like per vehicle, it's that. Right. So you know what I mean. If you're taking like 3 or 4 bikes and you're going to divide it up, it's going to be an extra £100 each. Yeah. So
it's not as bad as what you might first think.
Yeah, when we get that email, and I think it's
still an added expense.
It's one of those things as well. When there's new laws, everyone's a bit like uncertain at first and things, but once people get it, sorted into systems, it'll just be how it is. It's a bit of competition for the. I'm sure the prices will come down and it'll be all right. One thing I was going to say though, when I first got that email, is if there were putting like massive costs on everyone going to Spain and they were preventing it. Dom's not been to like Almeria or anything before, but
no, I've barely been out of Durham, son.
There's been times I've been there where we've went out for food and we're the only people there, and the restaurant owners are like basically pleading for us to go in for food.
Yeah.
And it's such people have a preconception of what Spain's like. It's so poor in some areas.
Yeah.
And like when I was living there, all the areas where the expats and like the English have moved out there, obviously there's so much money coming to the area. They want to incentivise people coming as much as possible. I remember someone once, because I had my English van out there, someone once said to us, you'll never get stopped by the police because they
just want you to be there.
Yeah, they don't want to put you off from coming.
Yeah.
So if there was going to be massive,
speed.
If there was going to be massive, barriers, it would be killing all of the, all those restaurants and all the like.
But
that's
I think
all the money
they know
going
that
out.
as well, don't they? The whole. Fucking hell, we've got to be careful of politics, Joe, haven't we? The whole Brexit thing, we all need to be. Everybody needs everybody else, don't they?
The whole world's trading blocks are coming down, and the barriers to entry, and there's more trade going on. So it would be stupid.
Especially again, Brexit's happened, and then there's all this that's gone on where everybody in the world is losing out. They're not bothered what bloody country you're from, are they? Everybody just wants to trade. Let's just do work, let's just try.
It's in everyone's interest to have low barriers 100%. And for us to go spend the money. It's perfect for them.
We'll adapt as we always do. We're creatures of comfort. At the end of the day, as human species, aren't we? Definitely. We don't like change.
Definitely.
Because change is like, that's a bit dangerous by nature. And but we'll all adapt.
Yeah. Few other quick things. Joan Mir, the MotoGP world champion, there's been a massive sort of controversy recently about his choice in numbers, whether he's going to run the number 1 or run the number 36.
And what's he gone for?
He's just came out to run the number 36. Keep number 36.
I've been meaning to put this shout out in for ages. Riding Graphics. So every time there's a bit of news out, he's on social media. Follow him, and he always puts these like collages on a mint. He actually did one for me sponsors. So thank you so much for doing that. I've been meaning to put that in for ages now.
Where was he?
Riding Graphics. So he's like an editing lad, and he's on social media, especially on the Instagram. He's really good. So any news that pops up, so like the John Muir thing came up, we did one about him, or anything about like Toesland or even you and everything like that. He just goes, puts him up.
Even you. Yeah, well, the standard. Here we go. Fuck you, Dom.
I
used to think you were all right.
No, mate, I have had no sleep. Now, that could not have been any more contradictive than that there. And now, normally, I'm going to put my spade down, but I'm going to pick it back up and just go,
Chrissy, get him a can of this rich energy.
Honestly,
try and get some words to come out in order. Jesus,
that did not right. Let me just get my pity dick put in my mouth here. I am sorry. That did not mean to sound like that at all. Look, there's no coming back from this. Joe, I'm a dick. I love you though. Joe, I'm a huge fan.
What do you think about the whole? Obviously, I won the championship last year, so I've decided to run number 1 next year.
Oh yeah, you run number 1.
Yeah.
You haven't mentioned it.
And there's a big, people.
I've forgotten who'd won that. To be honest, I was about to say, only dickheads would run number 1. Arrogant bastards.
It is a proper topping, and when I put it out that I was running number 1, loads of positive comments. Like everyone's so chuffed and pleased to see it. And interestingly
enough,
down by anybody? Nobody shot us down for it. And Mia is getting absolutely absolutely hammered for running 36. A lot of people are saying putting merchandise in front of things.
Marquez doesn't do it.
It would be a huge honour to run the number one for Suzuki. Suzuki haven't had that chance for like 20 years, and people seem to be annoyed that he's not. For me, I could not care less. It's totally up to him.
It's wet wipes, man. Too many bloody wet wipes.
I think fair play. You know, he's obviously a humble bloke, isn't he? Unlike you.
It was Dom that did it. You don't need to do me back.
No, it's each to their own, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it must be a nice. You're not going to get many opportunities to run number one as a world Grand Prix champion here, or as a British Superstock champion.
Well done recovering that.
To be a champion of anything, to run a number one as anything.
Brooks is running number one.
Is he?
Is he? Yeah,
he didn't. When he Shaky's never run one, has he?
No,
Shaky's always run 67.
Rossi hasn't.
Yurichi Kiyanari used to. Jack Kennedy won.
Look how that worked out for him.
What's that? I think he won a back to East. Johnny Ray has run
Johnny
number
Ray
one.
Richard Cooper, didn't he run the number one last year?
Yeah, well, he only.
I know he got injured, didn't he?
Yeah.
Got injured, but he was running the number one plate, wasn't he? So
it's one of those. For me, I think it's a huge honour. Like you say, you never know if you're going to get a chance.
He still thinks you're very humble.
And I get the Suzuki thing as well. That would be a nice thing for Suzuki to be able to have the number one.
Do you know? It's funny because I had not really thought about it much and it before, and it was actually one of my sponsors, Bob, who just put it to us and just said, you basically like, do you want sponsorship this year? And I said yes, and he said, well, you're running the number one. And
is that right? So money spoke, did it?
I'll tell you what, I think our last subject before we wrap it up and I can go to bed and stop making a dick of myself, but how you do it? Like sponsorship is always always that underground subject. No one in this sport, and the two things you should keep private in your life is your love life and your bank statements. And the thing is, in the world, people don't open and go, well, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. It's bad manners, to be blunt. But unfortunately, I've lost sponsors this year, which is understandable. I'm not having a go at it, and it is because of the situation we're in. People losing their jobs. I totally understand that, but it's a bit like what you're about to do is a huge thing. You know, how is that going with trying to get sponsors? Because
it's hard. It's hard. Like
because you've got something to sell. Because me and all the other road lads, we've lost our selling point.
You'd think so, but my selling point has always been the TT. That's what's been, you know. So like last year, I asked two of my sponsors right at the start of the year if they would put in, you know, before everything really hit the fan. Yeah. And they initially they'd paid, so they'd already tipped in. Yeah. And then things started developing, and I then just didn't ask the sponsors because I thought, how can I ask when I'm not going to fulfil what you want to be involved with me for?
See, that's
and I
would
rather leave the door open than be a greedy bastard and say, can I have that sponsorship, and then not deliver on it. I know someone that's done exactly that. You know, I don't. You have an agreement. I always put it to them, you know, as an agreement for their investment. And if you can't fulfil that agreement, well, then you shouldn't really be taking the money, should you?
I totally agree.
I've had. So far, I've only got two sponsors who've put in, and they've said to me, look, you know, actually our industry hasn't been affected. We're okay. The others have said, mate, we would love to, but we just can't. So at the minute, it's all on to try and just cover it. I've got one guy who's been with me for 5 years, who's actually my old supplier, Grax. They do aerial and satellite and CCTV, and they've been with me from my first Manx. And I spoke to him last week, and he said, "Joe, we'll do the same again. Don't worry about it. We're just glad to be part of the journey." And then a real good mate of mine, Robbie, on the Isle of Man, he's the reason I'm still racing. I would have probably not been able to come back racing in 2019 if it weren't for Robbie. Yeah, but he's someone that's just believed in me. He's a bit of a father figure to me, you know. He's just a fucking decent bloke, and without Robbie, I probably wouldn't. Well, I don't think I would be. I wouldn't be racing. I wouldn't be racing one for Robbie. And he said to me this year, you know, we'll find a way through it. You know, we'll be all right. So I'm grateful for that. But like you say, what do? Our selling point's gone, hasn't it?
Of course it is. And the thing is, it's like you know, you have your sponsors, and without anyone like us without sponsors, we will just simply not be going racing. And I think as a collective group, as a collective chat here, without I think we've got to say, we can't thank them enough.
I think everyone in this industry, at the beginning of every season, I do my usual, get in touch with all my existing, and obviously the way things are, the economy, like you said, there's some that just cannot, like they say, laying people off,
and I felt guilty asking them.
Yes,
and actually at the start of my proposal to them, I said, please don't think badly of me for asking this, but I kind of have to.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that I am. I'm just checking.
I'm still going to do this, but if you have to say no to me, which is the worst sales pitch in the world, isn't it? With starting with, you need to say no.
I was writing them. I was thinking exactly the same.
But you think, fuck, these guys might not be able to pay the rent, but I'm going to ask anyway. We have to. And you know what?
Shy Ben's getting out, son.
And they know why we're doing it. They're involved with us for the same reason.
Exactly.
We keep going and doing it. I've said it before. If we were as good at football as what we are riding bikes, you'd be earning a decent screw even doing what we do, we'd be earning a decent screw. Not riding in British Championship, we'd still be earning if we were as good at football as what we are riding bikes. But it's just the industry we're in, isn't it? It doesn't bring it.
And it's always that kind of we talk about. It's like, how do you approaching new sponsors, emails, and dropping things.
It's a waste of time.
Because it's a waste of time. It is a waste. But you see, it's always that dark thing, and you think, by the way, if anyone would like to sponsor any of us, please
we'll split it 3 ways.
That's it. That's exactly it. No, but it's always, because at the moment we have nothing to sell. It's like I have a plan on doing like the Thundersport Championship, and then doing some wild cards at BSB to try and keep my eye in for the following TT. But then that is just
as well.
Scarborough's obviously, any road race that we can get to, we will be going.
Is Armoy running?
Now Armoy have not dropped. They haven't said they're not doing it, and they're really, really positive on their social medias, going, look, we are going to go to the last minute. And you think, fair enough having the balls, because everyone's doing like the polite, sensible thing by saying, look,
it's unlikely.
It's unlikely, and we're going to scrub it now. And you think, I can see, fair enough, but you think, come on, keep the hope alive. And Armoy's got the hope there.
I think, are you both
mid-meeting?
Kit-wise, are you both sorted for, all?
Yeah, I'm having to pay, which is disappointing.
Who do you
RST?
Yeah,
RST.
for leathers.
I just for helmets. I was in 6D last year, but they've said that there's nothing available for this year.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, because we have nothing. Like we are road racers, and it's like,
so what are you doing for
now? Your world endurance.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So you'd think, the thing is, the world endurance isn't massively publicised, so can they get
it's live on Eurosport?
Yeah, and it's a big thing. There's an opportunity there with the social media thing, for people to jump on the bandwagon. They said, it's not.
I would love to do what you're doing. I'm genuinely over the moon that you're doing it.
I know how lucky I am to be given the opportunity.
I would love to.
On a normal year, I think there's like at Suzuka, for example, I think there's over 100,000 that go to watch. It's a massive.
Le Mans, they've said that no spectators will be allowed to Le Mans, but I've been and done a support race at Le Mans, and it is the craziest thing you've ever seen from a spectator point of view. It's just mental. There's just a field behind the grandstand with people just blowing bikes up all night, and it's just like something out of Mad Max.
So you've got you're going to use RST
leathers.
Yep. Are you looking for a helmet sponsor?
At the minute, John's going to help me out with showies. So that's
Mint.
I'm really grateful for that, to be honest with you. Because
what about boots and gloves?
I've always been in Denise because I just like their short boots. So I'm really hoping that D-Star Manchester are going to look after me. But if D-Star Manchester can't look after me, Phil, then anyone else, Denise based a set of boots, never go amiss. But you know what I mean? There's another 400 quid you've got to find.
I was just about to say, collectively as a whole suit, I know RSC will look after you, but let's round off the figure. I know this is not exact, but you're talking a couple of grand in.
Well, the thing is, you've got
protective equipment.
You've 700
to start
quid
with.
for a helmet, and
exactly.
What we're going to pay for a set of leathers from RST is 900 quid for a suit. Now they've gone up for their airbag suits. A set of boots is 400 quid. A set of gloves is 200 quid. Yeah. And now World Endurance say you have to have a chest protector as well. So obviously,
same with the roads, actually.
Have they? So another 80 quid on top of that. It all adds up.
I don't think you wear a chest protector with or you can't wear a chest protector with the airbag suit. I don't think.
Well, I need to check with RST, but I know that John, my teammate, wore his Denise airbag suit with a chest protector, and in the wording from the FIM for the World Endurance, it does say that it is mandatory to wear a back protector and a chest protector. Airbag suits are how did it word it now? Advised. Airbag suits are advised.
It's going to go down that route, isn't it?
To say,
Captain Kawasaki. I was speaking to Captain Kawasaki about
shout out Captain Kawasaki. It's been a while.
I think he's doing the World Endurance next year.
Good lad.
He was asking about the chest protector, but when I got fitted up for my RSTs, they said that you don't wear, or I'd maybe not recommended.
You don't need to wear one. With
not recommended to wear the chest, because when the airbag goes off, it's that full and restricted that you wouldn't have space for. Like the air thing is actually the cut.
That was my understanding. So I need to speak to RST and maybe even send a question back to the FIM to say to them, this is the wording from RST and this is the wording from you guys. Where do I sit in this? And then get some proof.
What's the score with you, Dom? Are you sorted for like your equipment?
Yeah, so same thing. Back on with RST and stuff. Just like
helmet and boots and everything.
Yeah, just all the same script there. But John's not giving me shoes. Bar that.
I stick with RI for next year.
Yeah, but I think don't fix something that's top. I've just got faith in the RI, and they always say you've got a shoey head or an RI head, and it's first time I got a shoey on, it wasn't quite fitted for my head. That's the truth. Not great product, absolutely fantastic product, but you can pad them out. And when I bought the RI at the TT, because they had a direct service, a very open direct service.
It's a brilliant service. That
it really is, and you drop it off and they reshape it in, and I've always stayed with RI on that side of things. And I tell you what though, if I came in and said to me mum, right, I bought this $3,500 swinging arm for me bike. She's going, oh bloody hell, wasting money. I'm thinking that's the safest part, mother. It's stability and that, and she would kick off. But if I came in and said I've spent $8,000 on a helmet, she's going, good boy.
Yeah, it's your head.
No, that's it though, isn't it? And you can't mess with your fruit. Never buy a cheap lid.
What are you doing with
ever?
What are you doing with boots?
Boots, no, I'm after some boots. I'm going to try and if there's anyone who's doing a deal on I really like I got given a pair of boots from Francout, they were James's boots, and that, for me I was welling up at that point. Bloody hell, and James wore those Alpine Star Super Tech,
lovely
beautiful boot, really beautiful boot, and it's I was very lucky. I got sponsored by Daytona the year before, and as far as the protection, awesome boot, fantastic. But it's horses for course. For me personally, I did not, because I've got fat inbred feet. So you know what I mean. And me riding the classics, I need to really scrunch up, like I say. As far as a boot, Daytona are absolutely outstanding, and you were 100% back that up, and I was very lucky they backed me for that year. But I'm just going to go down a different route, and I'm going to try and, if anyone's doing a good deal on some Alpine Star boots, I'm happy to help out a fan of the show and help out.
Talking about helmets, you're saying there's no such thing as a cheap and cheerful helmet. It's like you'd never go to do a skydive. Can I go for the cheap
parachute?
Yeah, the cheap and cheerful parachute, or the surgeon.
I'll spend that much on them cards.
That's it. This guy never used the last one. He just hit the ground.
I'm going for an operation. There's a few surgeons to choose from. This one's cheap and cheerful.
No, but you see, you got a good point though, because when people go buy a road bike, they spend $8,000 on the speed triple, and I've run out of money, I better buy a cheap and go and get
one of these for 100 quid.
And you're like, what
are you doing?
No way, go buy a proper lid.
I used an AGV.
Get an RI. Plug.
I used an RI an AGV in 2019, and I was absolutely over the moon with them. They are a good helmet. Noisy. I wouldn't want one as a commuter, I don't think. I found wind noise, but for stability and visibility, fucking outstanding.
One thing that a change in terms of 2020 and with the lockdown stuff, it's the first year RI haven't been at the BSB, because usually after a session you just drop your helmet off, it gets all the tear offs cleaned and all that type of stuff. Do you know what?
The Motor Direct team do that. They do an awesome job.
It's funny because this year we didn't have that service, and at the beginning of the year I thought, I'm really going to miss that, and I've actually quite liked the sort of preparation thing of doing it myself.
Do you know what?
And coming in here and just getting my helmet all prepared and tear offs and stuff.
It's like therapeutic, isn't it? I'm doing something on Thursday, and I've got to have a plain black helmet, so I dug my AGV. That's what made me think of it. I got my AGV, which has been in the garage, and it had mould and frost inside it, and I thought, but it was wrapped, so I can take the wrap off, and it's just carbon underneath, so it'll be perfect for what I'm doing. So I've got it inside, and I've just taken the whole thing to bits, and I've just cleaned it all, and I've greased everything up, and I've found a new visor and just put it all back together again. And I don't know why, but it's just something really rewarding about this mouldy old piece of shit. And I'm thinking it's a grand's worth of helmet. It's mint now, but there is something nice about that preparation with it. I can't think if it's
me personally. If you are watching, I am 100% behind the service. I find no therapy in it whatsoever. I'll keep coming.
There is one of the top lads, and I can't think who it is. That's
Josh.
Was it Josh?
Yeah.
Does he do it? He enjoys
really
doing his own, likes his tear offs in a particular way, and
If you have like a fingerprint on
that was it. Yeah. But I can totally relate to that. It's like when you put the screen protector on your phone and you think you've got it all clean, then you put the protector on. There's a tiny little grain of dust.
I don't know if it's because if I started in motocross and you're lucky if you have any vision whatsoever, and then come into road racing, it's so clear. But I've never been bothered about like scratch visors and stuff. And I remember
I'm like that
on one of my first year's race, and I remember I was doing this. It was with Triumph, actually. It was the Triumph Young Guns, and Paul Young. Can you remember that? He was one of the like coaches, and like he was like one of the judges for this thing. And I remember he looked at my helmet and he went, "What on," like in his accent, "What on earth is that?" And he took my visor off and chucked it in the bin. And to me, it was like 50 quid visor, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And then I went, "Oh, that's the best one." And I had about 8 visors, right?
They all look like they've been wet and dried.
No, I remember dead clearly. It was at Thruxton. He picked it up, looked through it, bin, looked through it, bin. He was just binning all my visors because they were scratched, and I was like, honestly, that did not bother me whatsoever, because when you used to motocross, it's
then do you know when he put your new in? Did you not? Oh my god! Where have you been all my life?
I tell you the one thing I can never when you first start racing and you like put fairy liquid on the inside to stop them steaming, and you're going in the wet race and you're lifting the visor, holding your breath before corners, and you're thinking about your breathing and everything like that. And I do this like double skin rain visor, and you're going to pass out trying to breathe on it
with a big rubber seal across the top of it.
You just think, my old man, he's like, nah, don't need one of them, don't want one of them. And I tell you what, he was at his fortune race and I wasn't racing, and I just grabbed his lid, clicked this on, he went out, and you could see him going down the straight going,
what's going on?
I don't need to do that. My dad, right, at 52, 53, he had laser eye surgery because he wore glasses, and the first time I saw him coming down Glen Crutchley Road on this G50 flat stick, he always had years of this habit of lifting his visor on the start line to push his glasses back on.
Really?
The first 2 laps he's coming over, lifting the visor, and we're going, you don't wear glasses, you dozy pillock. And it took him 2 laps, and he's coming like the third lap, he's going, I don't need to do it because he's so like repetition, habit, and it's mad that I'll never forget that. But there we go. But what else do we need to cover, chaps? Thank
you for having me again.
Thanks for coming up. Really appreciate you joining us. Do you know? Someone asked us recently my favourite podcast to date
was Ivan.
That
was brilliant.
It was Dan Linford,
and it was up to that podcast we did a while ago. I enjoyed it so much because there was loads of messages along the same lines of like they weren't really familiar with you before the podcast, and it was just one of those things like the gems where like it's just so
got
nice.
Your shovel.
They are some.
I appreciate it.
So many people commenting just saying like it nice to put a face to the name and get to know you a little bit, and it was just general chit chat about bikes that you sort of like what you'd have with your mates in the pub type of thing.
That's what it's about. That's what this show is about. And
I don't know, what you see is what you get. I appreciate you giving me a shout to come back on, and
you'll be coming back on.
I did think you'd rung the wrong person, to be honest with you.
You did actually text us back.
I did.
Are you sure it was me?
Because I thought he's rung the wrong Joe here. He's made a mistake. I'm going to pull up and he's going, oh fuck, it was the wrong one. My missus did say as soon as I hung up the phone to you, I wonder who's cancelled for him to ring you.
That is me.
So I appreciate. It's good, and I know it's been a bit more of a serious conversation that we've had, but
you're going to get inundated now with.
Do you know what?
Bring it on.
Yeah, but there's a big hole that needs filling. So if we can do something to fill it, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, and let's get
that of a community,
that ball rolling as well. Yeah. And obviously, if we can help.
And once you've got it actually like a proper foundation set going, right, this is the product, this is how we're doing it, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
we're definitely getting you back on. We'll get Aidan up here. You can bring the Ben, the wife. You can bring anyone you want.
I nearly brought the dog with me, you know, because the dog was, the dog was my crutch when all of that was going on, and I was looking at her as I was leaving, and she's looking at me to say, "You're not leaving me here," because she goes everywhere.
Should have brought the bloody pooch,
and I was thinking, "Shall I bring her?" I thought, "Nah, she'll."
I was thinking about that the other day. If I wasn't in a position of seriously injured, the first thing I'm going to do is buy a dog.
I can't
because of what you said. I think it's great advice.
It's balmy, but if anybody said to me, "What got you through it?" The dog got me through it, and I mean, trying to buy a dog now is a bloody dear do, isn't it? Any old mongrel's $1,500 to $2,000 to buy a dog at the minute. But for me, that was that thing of getting up in the morning. So she's. I thought, shall I bring her up? But next time I'll bring the dog. I'll bring the dog up next time. And
absolutely ideal, mate. But honestly, thank you so much yet again. It's been mint cracking for me and Chrissy. This is what Chase the Racing's about. Bike crack.
I bet you're just chuffed to get to bed.
Mate, I'm off. Yeah. I'm desperate. I'm desperate for me kip. Oh God, I haven't slept. Oh yeah. Anyway, whinge. But anyway, thank you so much, son.
Thank you. Well, huge to see you guys again.
Yeah. Huge thanks to our patrons and our sponsor, Colchester Kawasaki, and we'll catch up. We'll catch up with you next week.
Cheers, did you enjoy that anyway? Before you go,
yeah, it was lovely.
It's lush, isn't it? So there you go.
Visor stickers.
But there we go. But yet again, we've said this like 8 times already. Mint. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.